In a bar in Japan, an ambitious and passionate engineer sat dreaming aloud. Under the influence of a few drinks, he shared a wild idea, sketching its first outlines on a napkin. Little did he know that sketch would come to life, becoming a groundbreaking concept, a testament to Japanese identity and a legendary mark in the world of supercar manufacturing. This machine, the most awe-inspiring, sharp and fierce in Japan's history, would go on to shatter records on the proud soils of the West. Its creation spanned 10 long years, and in its final stages, it claimed the soul of one of Japan's greatest legends. This is a dramatic, tragic, mechanical and musical tale, brimming with ambition and honor. Buckle up, car enthusiasts. Today, we're diving into the fury and determination of the Japanese samurai. Welcome everyone to the Car Surgeon channel. I promise you excitement, and in return, I ask for your support. Let's dive into the story of an idea that started as a mere sketch on a napkin in a noisy bar in Japan. This idea might have remained just that, a sketch, if it weren't for an old man who believed in it. The man you see on screen is a Japanese legend, and we'll talk about his story in detail later. But what's important is that at the time, he was Toyota's chief test driver. When this old man heard the engineer's idea, his expression changed instantly. It was as if he had been rejuvenated by 30 years. As if you'd promised him a week on a remote island without his wife. The truth is, my friend, the old man began pitching suggestions, getting carried away with his words. For a moment it seemed like he forgot he was inside the boring halls of Toyota. But then he remembered, and a moment of silence followed. All of this would have remained just talk, empty words, if we didn't give the idea a chance. It had to be presented to someone higher up, someone sitting in Toyota's executive chairs. And the old man knew exactly who to tell. The young man he shared the idea with was a car enthusiast, a lover of speed, who had learned performance driving from the old man himself. He held immense respect for him. When the young man heard the idea, he was genuinely impressed. We're Toyota, the largest car manufacturer in the world. We're the richest and the strongest. Yet to this day, we don't have a machine like the one you're describing. We constantly face jokes and disrespect from the Europeans as if we can't do what they do. The young man got excited and decided to present the idea to Toyota's board of directors. In the first meeting, the response was unanimous. This idea is a waste of time, resources and money. It's even a risk to the company's reputation. We don't want the Italians or Germans laughing at us. That's what one of them said. There was a second meeting, then a third, attended by over 100 people from Toyota. But then, in a defining moment, everyone fell silent when the chairman of the meeting stood up and declared in a loud voice, "No more excuses. We're doing this." As for the engineer in the bar, he was Haruhiko Tanahashi, one of Toyota's finest engineers specializing in speed. He was the mastermind behind the Toyota Celica and the one who first shared the idea with the old man. Speaking of the old dreamer, he was Hiromu Naruse, Toyota's chief test driver and chief test engineer for 47 years. A professional driver and a brilliant engineer, Naruse was known as the maestro within Toyota. His colleagues from his Ferrari days even called him the man who knows every road. By the way, he was the Japanese driver who spent the most hours on Germany's Nürburgring, more than any other Japanese driver in history. Throughout his career, Naruse played a key role in developing iconic cars like the Toyota Sports 800, the Toyota 2000 GT, the Toyota MR2, and the Supra. In short, he was a man who dedicated his life to both engineering and driving sports cars. And little did he know, his end would come behind the wheel, working on the most passionate project of his life. There was a third key player in this story, the young man who carried the idea from a napkin to the racetracks. He was none other than Akio Toyoda, the primary supporter and driving force behind the project. Akio was the old man Naruse's student in professional driving and the direct grandson of Kichiro Toyoda. Akio, Naruse, and Haruhiko made a pact to teach the Western world a fierce lesson in Japanese engineering. My friend, making money from selling supercars is incredibly difficult. Building one from scratch is outrageously expensive. With only a handful of buyers worldwide, think billionaires, the top 0.1%, even established giants like Ferrari, Porsche, and Lamborghini, don't sell more than 20,000 units a year. Let me tell you, this is a tough industry. But Toyota, or rather its premium division, Lexus, decided to take on the challenge anyway. And so, under the Lexus brand, work began on the project to create the fastest Japanese car in history. For comparison, Toyota brought in supercars from every major manufacturer and drove them back to back. After testing them, the old man Naruse initially proposed a front engine layout for the project. Or more precisely, a front mid-engine configuration. This is where the engine is placed in the front but pushed back behind the front axle, closer to the center of the car for better balance. Naruse believed this setup was more driver-friendly and balanced compared to other designs. Mid-engine layouts were tricky, and rear-engine setups were downright dangerous. The first prototype came after over a year of work with Naruse himself tweaking, testing and refining it, and oh my friends, the amount of adjustments and fine-tuning they pursued in Japan was mind-blowing. From the start, the car's core was made of aluminum, a suitable and lightweight material. But after all the effort, the team realized it wasn't enough. The solution? Carbon fiber. Using this magical material, they could reduce the weight by around 100 kilograms while increasing rigidity. Go for it, kid. And don't even ask about the 4 years spent developing this beast using aluminum. Carbon fiber is indeed a magical material, but it's incredibly expensive in terms of effort, time, and money. Especially back then, even Ferrari and Porsche offered an outsource its production to specialized companies. But not Toyota. The madmen at Toyota decided to produce the carbon fiber themselves from scratch. They invested in expensive, state-of-the-art machines resembling giant sewing looms, weaving threads made of ultra-strong carbon atoms into fabric. This fabric was then layered into molds, treated with special resins, vacuum-sealed, and baked in custom ovens for hours. The result? A carbon fiber piece stronger than steel and lighter than aluminum. Fun fact, the larger the piece, the bigger the machine needed to produce it. And the machine Toyota bought, combined with the technology of the time, was unmatched in the world. Science and innovation at their finest. The car's body was completely redesigned, made almost entirely of carbon fiber, with minimal aluminum use. The suspension system was independent, complex, and highly advanced on all wheels. A single clutch transmission was placed at the rear for better weight distribution, achieving near-perfect balance between the front and rear. And as for the engine, the beating heart of the car, that's a story all on its own. A 6-cylinder engine, whether in a V or inline configuration, was out of the question, even with a turbo. As for the V8, despite its reliability, they saw it as too common and uninspiring. They wanted something more unique, and since they were going all out, they decided to go all the way. That was the Japanese team's mindset, and the choice fell on the extraordinary V10, a naturally aspirated 10-cylinder monster with instant throttle response and an exceptional exhaust note. Building an engine like this from scratch was nothing short of a miracle, especially when you consider that the block was made of aluminum, the crankshaft and many components were titanium, and it featured a dry sump oiling system to ensure perfect lubrication at all speeds and corners. The result? Unmatched responsiveness, a sky-high red line of 9,000 RPM, 550 horsepower sent to the rear wheels, world-class stability, and that sound. Oh, that sound. Listen closely, my friend. If you were sitting there with the final question on who wants to be a millionaire, and the question was, what is the most beautiful exhaust note ever produced for a street-legal car? Remember the surgeon's words and answer. The Lexus LFA, even if it wasn't one of the options.
That's correct.
The rear exhaust, shaped like an inverted pyramid, wasn't just for looks. For the ultimate sound quality, Toyota collaborated with their neighbor Yamaha, a company renowned not only for building incredible engines, but also for crafting musical instruments. Together, they created an insane system to ensure the car didn't just sound amazing on the street, but also inside the cabin, where it mattered most. From the engine up front to the exhaust at the back and everything in between, above and below the driver, it was a complete Japanese symphony. In 2005, the first concept was unveiled, and in 2007, the second concept appeared. Finally, the car was named the LFA, Lexus Future. The A doesn't stand for anything specific, they just liked how it sounded. Okay friends, the machine went through test after test and development after development for 7 long years, from 2000 to 2007, and it still had a long way to go before it was ready. At the forefront of testing was the old man Naruse, who left no racetrack or road in Japan untested. Honestly, I envy this man, and I know I'll never live the life he lived. But this old man wasn't satisfied with just Japan's roads. His eyes were set specifically on the supercar battlegrounds of the world's most iconic racetracks. Yes, I'm talking about the Green Hell, Germany's Nürburgring. When Naruse suggested taking the car to the Nürburgring, the team didn't hesitate. They even entered it in the grueling 24 hours of Nürburgring race, a brutal test of endurance, not for winning, but for pushing the car to its limits. And here's a secret we later learned. One of the drivers in the LFA was none other than Akio Toyoda himself. He raced under the pseudonym Morizo, hiding behind a helmet. This, my friends, is the true meaning of dedication and pride. It's not every day that the CEO of a company races his own car, and certainly not every CEO who was trained by a legend like Naruse. 1,000 hours were spent testing at the Nürburgring. The entire team, led by Naruse, practically lived at the track during that period. By then, Naruse had become the Japanese driver with the most hours driven on the Nürburgring in history. But one day, a day like any other, filled with hard work and passion for Naruse, tragedy struck. On June 23, 2010, just a short distance from the Nürburgring, Naruse was driving the LFA when something went terribly wrong. The details remain unclear, but the car veered off the road and collided head-on with another vehicle. The impact was devastating, and while the 2 people in the other car survived, Naruse lost his life instantly. This tragedy shook Toyota and all of Japan. Naruse was a symbol of Japan, a man who loved his work and gave it everything he had. He refused to leave this world without doing what he loved most. Akio Toyoda, his protege and the grandson of Toyota's founder, eulogized him, saying, "He was my right hand in building Toyota's racing spirit. Without him, I feel utterly alone." Less than a year after Naruse's death, the Lexus LFA was officially launched. 10 years of sacrifice, passion, and even a life had been poured into this project, giving birth to a legend. Only 500 units were made, including a special track-focused version, the same version Naruse had driven, and the one that set a record at the Nürburgring with a lap time of 7 minutes and 14 seconds. A time that shattered Europe's pride and etched the LFA into history forever. When the LFA finally landed in the hands of expert journalists, they couldn't deny its brilliance. It was a true supercar, flawless and unique. But on the downside, its starting price of $375,000 US Toyota, unfortunately, even struggled and suffered to sell just 500 units, and this is where I feel sad, you feel sad. It was a shame, but I want to tell you that unfortunately, most buyers of such cars are not like us. Some people have excess money, and sometimes they buy these cars without even driving them. They just look for a brand and a name. They are willing to pay that kind of money for a Ferrari or a McLaren, but not for a Lexus, not for a Toyota. But if they knew the story, if they understood the emotions behind it, things would have been different. Today its price is nearly $1 million. But in any case, the LFA was never meant to be a profit-making project. From the very beginning, this was clear. It was a statement and a mark in history to prove to the world, to the entire world, that nothing is impossible for the samurai.